Hi guys, hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. Came back from a cruise. Princess is here. We're all ready to rock and roll. Hi, my name is Kay, and this is my Cave of Possibilities. I have yarny ditty stuff to the left of me, cross-stitch stuff to the right, and here I am, stuck in the middle with you. This is Princess. I'm going to send her this way because the way she wants to go is climbing all over my pile of stuff that I have set up in front of me so I can show it to you. Because that's just how she's going to be. An extra week in between updates this time. I went on a cruise with the family and we had a great time. I had a great time. My sister didn't, but she hates cruising anyway, so I'm surprised she went. But I begged her to go, so she went for me. But anyway, hi, how are you? Cross-stitching. Fantastic. I left my list of everything in my bedroom when I came home and dropped everything off from coming back from work. So we'll see if I remember everything. Maybe not. Right. Let's get started. The first thing I have to show you is a finish, and I finished this The God is Love. Words of Worship from Primrose Cottage. They're doing this cute little series this year. And here is my finish. It is on a 32 count Wisteria Linen from Red Thicket fabric, and I stitched it 2 over 2 with the called for floss, which is Blooming Crocus. Double check. Yep, Blooming Crocus, which is a classic Colorworks color. And it came out lovely, lovely, lovely. And so with the kit, looks like it'll go really well. Here we go. Kind of hold up the fabric with the pillow. So eventually that'll, maybe one day in the far future, become a pillow. Alright. So everything else was a little bit of this and a little bit of that. The next thing I'm going to show you is I made some progress on Inspiration. I worked quite a lot on her during the Memorial Day weekend, and I am working all kind of in this center section here. Right there. And turn this around. Here we go. This is a big mama jama. So I put in pretty much everything. These trees, the top of these trees were done. And so I've done the trees, the house, this tree, this house, this tree, some of the tree and stuff here, and then most of my 1 over 1 people there in the center of the village. I connected this frame up to where it was up here. I've extended the double cross stitch as far as I can, not double cross stitch, the little diamond border as far as I can. Going to have to get some more flowers and stuff done in here so I have a place to properly tie off those flosses and start the next round of the border. So I think there's a horse here and a horse here, and that's most of the stuff for the center. This is a 28 count even weave. It's not white, it's like an off-white. I don't know if it's ivory or antique white. I don't remember the name of it. But I think it's coming along pretty nice. I think we're looking pretty good here. So maybe eventually we'll get it done. So this is a page kind of right here, and then there's a page for the rest of the floral border way over here, and then 4 pages across the bottom, and then we'll be done. So we're slowly making our way to the finish line, a little tiny bit at a time. Okay, this I stitched on while I was on the cruise. It was the only thing that I took with me, kind of traveling light. So this is May We Live in Slightly Less Interesting Times. This is Long Dog Sampler, and it was a freebie. This is called Wishful Thinking is the actual title of the piece. And I am, like I said, I took it on the cruise. It was my one thing that I took, traveling light. And so before I was working over, kind of over here in this corner, I had maybe this fern and just kind of right here done. And then I just did all the rest of it during the week of my cruise. I am stitching this on a 32 count. I forget the name of it, but it is also a Red Thicket linen. And then my floss is Night Skies by Live and Die LA. So I'm just kind of chugging along on this a little bit at a time, or a whole heck of a lot of it while we were cruising. I really enjoyed the cruise. We had a good time. We went out of LA. It's the closest port to us here where I am in Utah. And so we drove down to LA the day before, stayed in a hotel, and took the hotel's shuttle from there to the port. It was only like half a mile or so, and something that you really totally could have walked. And in fact, on the way home, we did walk it because it happened to be Fleet Week on the day that we disembarked, and half the port was closed for traffic. So the shuttle for the hotel to take us back to the hotel and pick up our car, which was in valet parking, it didn't come, and we were like 3 hours late leaving LA from what we thought. And then it was just all stop and go traffic all the way out to like Victorville, and even some over the hill and more into Las Vegas. It was just kind of slow, but we kind of knew it was going to be bad, which is why we had hoped to get out a little bit earlier. But with the port being closed and traffic being all backed up, it was a bit of a mess. But we got home eventually, safe and sound. And so, yeah, there's that. The cruise, since I'm talking about it, was a lot of fun. It was my sister and I, my parents, and then one of my brother, his wife, and the two little nieces. And we had the best time just watching the two little nieces discover cruising. It was their first time. They were enthusiastic about everything. Their mom, my sister-in-law, had brought some little ducks to trade, and the nieces said that like the first night of the cruise, there were just kids all over the place, then meeting up and trading ducks and running around looking for ducks, and so they had a great time with that. I bought some, about 60 little tiny of the resin ducks, and I had them in my pocket, and I just leave resin ducks kind of, you know, in my wake at wherever I went. In the elevator lobby, here's a thing in the elevator, drop a duck in the corner. For all the sanitizing stations, you know, you get the goop, sanitize your hands, a duck on there, ducks down the hallway, ducks in plants, whatever. There were ducks all over the place. Many a happy kid hunting for ducks. We had, yeah, that was a good time. We didn't get off the ship in Ensenada. We found a nice lounge up high where it overlooked the pool deck. And so the views were great from this lounge, and so I went up there and cross-stitched my little heart out all day. My sister did some reading and working on some of her other stuff. And then when we went to Cabo, we went on an excursion where we drove the side-by-sides out in the desert, and just kind of, there was a guide to show us where to go. We were having a great time, taking the corners tight, and you know, just woo, all over the place, having a good time. Luckily, we had helmets on with a view, so dust wasn't getting in my eyes. Driving, lots of fun, had a great time. That was 2 thumbs up. Had a great time with that. And then in Mazatlan, we went to a lucha libre, Mexican wrestling sort of demonstration thing, and there were tacos, and the tacos were really good, and the wrestling was hilarious. That was, the whole family went to that one, to the UTV driving one. Only Leanne and I did that one. Only my sister and I did that one. And then, but anyway, the whole family was there for the wrestling. We had a good time. It was ridiculous. It was silly. We loved it. We cheered. It was anyway, it was so stupid. It was so silly. We had a great time at the luchador wrestling excursion in Mazatlan. It was really funny because we were talking about it and we came to the conclusion that the Alaska cruise that we went on kind of the same time of year a couple of years ago was actually warmer than this cruise south to Mexico. When we went to Alaska, several days were warmer than normal, like upper 80s, low 90s, just really toasty, really nice while we were out walking about town. One day it did rain in Alaska, which is what we came prepared for, so we weren't, sad that that happened. This one in Mexico, the only day that it was relatively warm, somewhere in the 80s, was in Mazatlan, and the rest of it, it was like mid-60s. And mid-60s are pleasant, but when you're on a cruise ship moving across the ocean, you get a little bit of wind, so the wind chill kicks in, and it was pretty cool out there on the if you wanted to be outside on one of the pool decks. It was a little chilly, so we stayed inside for the vast majority of our Mexican cruise. That was colder than our Alaskan cruise a couple years ago. But anyway, 1010, recommend. We'll do it again. We sailed on Royal Caribbean. We were on the Navigator of the Seas, which is, by today's standards, she's small and she's old. She is before the Freedom class. The Freedom class was one of the first ships that Royal Caribbean did. Navigator's the first one that had the Royal Promenade on the inside, and then they expanded that for the Freedom class, and then they expanded that more and added the outdoor portion, the Central Park portion, with the Oasis class. And now they've got the Icon class, and that is one big monster of a ship. So anyway, we went on a relatively small ship, and it was perfect, and I loved it. So there you go. So shall we get back to stitching a little bit? I put in, I think, just one day of work on the Colors of Water. As always, I show this to you because it's German and I cannot pronounce the name of the designer. And here is just a color copy of what this is supposed to look like. I'm going to shoo the cat because she is getting in the way again. Alright, here we go. I want this. I have to think about it. Okay. I am ghost stitching this for my friend Robin, who passed away from cancer back in February, and I have a little arrow up here that tells me this is really the up, but I am stitching it twisted 90 degrees because her top stitch goes the opposite way of my natural top stitch, but just by rotating your work and the pattern by 90 degrees, you can still just stitch as you normally would and not have to work too hard at remembering to stitch the opposite way. So let's see. I know that I finished off adding in all this light gray here at the bottom to this block, and then I was able to start filling in the green. It should take another stitchy session to finish all the green in that block, and then I think I'll move over and do this block, and then probably move down and do the last two blocks in this series. So 1, 2, 3 will hit the bottom edge of the thing, and then I'll move that way. Did I point the right way? Nope, I didn't. I'll move this way. So this is the Colors of Water. It is with the called for flosses. They are silks on an even weave. This is a 36 count even weave, and so I'm just using one strand of silk over two strands of the even weave as we kind of go along. So there is that little project. Most of these projects didn't get a lot of work. One, because I went on the cruise and only stitched on the one thing, and then Palia, which is a free-to-play game. It is sort of a combination that's between Stardew Valley with like the whole ranching aspect and Animal Crossing with the whole decorating aspect, and just a titch of World of Warcraft, only in that it is sort of a MMO, although the servers will only have 25 people on them at any given time, and the servers are pretty dynamic, so when they open and close and open and close as people join and come in, and they just open as many servers as there is demand at any given time. Anyway, I was playing that quite a lot because while we were on the cruise, they released a new X-Pack, I guess. But since it's free to play, there wasn't anything to pay for. So it's a new area, new quests, new things to hunt and things to fish, and plus horses, which are, you have the horses you can breed in your little ranching farm area. So I had a good time playing that when I got back from the cruise, spent a whole week. Hardly any stitching happened. The last thing I have to show is a little tiny bit of stitching on Pansy Garden by Samplers Not Forgotten. And I really didn't do hardly anything. In fact, it was yesterday was the first day I really sat down to do anything. And I put in the word spring. It is 1/1. So that was a little bit of doing, whoops, and then just the little pink for that flower, and then this little band of a running stitch and then crossing it with a different color. So that's all that I did on this one. This one I'm also using the Colorworks silks. I think they're Gloriana's. Check in the bag, yep, Gloriana Silks. And this is a 36 count Wisteria, also from Red Thicket. So had a good time. Having a good time with this. I can move my hoop down a little bit and do like the next border. And so I think when I'm done with the next little section of border, I'll come back up here and do the pansies down the side a little bit. I'm trying to do more border than pansies because I'm afraid if I get all the pansies done, then I'll stop doing the specialty stitch borders because I love the pansies. That's my favorite bit. But I don't mind doing the specialty stitch areas. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so that's my little work on that. And so that's really everything that has been going on and everything that I have stitched on. And I don't know how much stitching I'm going to really continue to do because I'm really enjoying that expansion of Palia. And so I think I'll just do some more hunting, fishing, horse breeding, having a good time there for a while. But now that we're out of May and my cross-stitch group's Whipmania competition is over and I did not win, I did not come close to winning, and that's perfectly fine. I'm looking forward to sort of being able to stitch on what I want, when I want, however the mood strikes, and not be limited to a certain set of projects to make sure I get so much work done on it per day. So there is that. Hello, Princess. How are you? Yeah, I guess that's everything. We're just puttering along work-wise pretty good. Closing up the school year as far as those things go. And then we've got the big stadium show coming up here in July, but that doesn't really affect me until the stadium show is over and I have to do all the accounting to get the cost together for the stadium show. So there's that. On June 13th, we get to go stitch for Stars, Stripes, and Stitching, which is a one-day retreat put on by my friend Brooke. She has a Facebook group sort of thing. I don't know if it's a group or just a page that is cross-stitching with Brooke, and she puts up all the information about her little one-day retreats and things that are going on, and some of her stitching as well. So definitely go check that out. She has closed registration for Stars, Stripes, and Stitching. Several of my friends are going, and I am very much looking forward to seeing them at that. And then we are headed out to Nebraska at the end of July for Stitching on the Prairie. And so I'm looking forward to that. So that's kind of my cross-stitching away from home plans for the next couple of months for June and July. And I need a cruise buddy because I really like to go cruising, and nobody in my immediate area loves to go cruising, so I need a new cruise buddy. I'll accept applications. I can't pay for you. I need a rich person who could pay for me. That would be lovely. Wouldn't that be lovely, one and all? Maybe I'll have to start playing the lottery so I can go on all the cruises that I want. Okay, Flight of Fancy. I hope you guys are doing good, doing your best to make the world a lighter place. One step forward, one step back. Hugs and stitches, everyone. One step back, no. One step forward, one step up. Forward, up. Make it better. Keep on moving. You got this. Right? It's true. Miss Princess, right here. Hugs and stitches. Kindness costs you nothing. Bye.